Welcome to Advanblack's YouTube channel. I'm Steve, service technician for Advanblack. Today we've got something cool to show you. We got a brand new parts lineup over on the table. In just a second, I'm going to walk you over there and show you that. But it's going to be the Holeshot kit from Advanblack. These parts are going to be in line with a performance bagger style build. So if you're looking to do an upgrade like that, these are going to be the parts for you. We do have our performance style Holeshot tank. Now this is going to be a complete tank replacement. This is not a cover. So this will take some work on your end, transferring all the stuff from inside your OEM tank over to the new tank. See, the profile line on the side of the tank is chopped in for that performance style look. Now today I'm going to be walking you through how to remove all the stuff from your OEM tank and get it installed in this tank. If you're not comfortable doing this, please make sure that you take your tank to an indie shop or to Harley Davidson to have the internals switched over to the new tank. So we're going to replace this table full of parts with our tools, and we're going to get to work on the bike. Now it's really easy to get the tank off one of these touring models, but the first thing we want to do is get our seat out of the way. We're going to go ahead and pull our left saddlebag. We're going to pull our left side cover. Now we're going to take our dash off. You got a 3/8 or a 10 millimeter, depending on what you have down here. Double check that. And you got a 4 millimeter screw up here. And that could be different on your bike as well. So just double check those two bolts. You got one here and you've got one here. Now what we're going to do from there is we're going to follow this black line down that comes from our fuel pump assembly down here underneath the seat, and we're going to unplug that. Right here next to that you got your vented overflow line, so we're going to just push that rubber off of that plastic just like that, and that's disconnected. So by disconnecting the power supply up to the fuel pump, we can now purge the pressure on the system. All you have to do is turn the bike on, start it, let it run until it dies, and you've purged the pressure. You want to make sure the bike is in neutral. And that's it. Now we've got all the pressure off of that. We come right over here underneath this left side cover. You got your main fuse right here. We're going to go ahead and pull that main fuse. Right here on the side of the tank, you have your check valve. This silver piece here pushes up while you pull down on the black. You want to make sure that you have a little towel handy because you will lose a little bit of fuel. So we're going to push up on the silver, pull down on the black. Just like that. Go ahead and dry up any of that fuel that we lost. And you see that, just that little bit that we lost there. So the next thing we need to do is remove this snap ring off the top right here. We can do that over on a workbench, but it's a lot harder to do when you want to let the bike help us. We're going to leave the tank on the bike, so when we twist this, it's pretty tight. So we don't have to hold the tank and try to remove the snap ring. We're going to let it set on the bike and remove it. So we're going to go ahead and pop this loose next. Now I use a Lang 492 tool, and I will link this in the description down below in case you want to pick one of these up. It makes it a lot easier to get this off. They are tight. If you don't have this Lang tool, you can still get the snap ring off. You can use a punch flathead screwdriver and maybe a small hammer to knock these sideways, and it just twists and pop off. First thing I'm going to do over here is remove this rubber hose at the top. Get that out of the way. Then we're going to push in on this clip on the back, and we're going to disconnect the electronics here. From there, we're going to go ahead and loosen up the gas cap to make sure we don't have any pressure on this tank. Then we're going to take our Lang tool, we're going to put it right over those grooves, and we're going to push. Just like that, and that comes off. And it is marked top, so you know how to put that back on. So from here, it's going to be super important to get all of the remaining fuel out of your tank that you can. You can do that by using a transfer pump, which is what we're going to be using. We're going to transfer the fuel out of here into a gas can. I don't have very much in this bike, but if you do, take your time, make sure you get as much out as you can, because you are going to be flipping this tank over on its top and on the back side just to get the guts out of here, and of course the check valve down there at the bottom. Now I've already removed two screws, one here and one here, so I could tilt this tank on the front to get a little bit more of that fuel out. But right up here on the side of your tank, you're going to have these little rubber pieces right here. You just pull these off, one on each side, and you're going to have the same bolt there, and then that tank is ready to remove from the bike. Those are going to be Torx 40. So from here, we can go ahead and lift up on the tank, pull it back, and we can take it to our soft table. So I'm going to try to do this. So I'm going to try to do this on the table here and get this in camera as best as I can. You may see me flopping around back and forth to the other side of the table, but to try to keep a lot of this in camera so you can see what's going on. Once we lift this piece up, we got some stuff in here that we need to unplug so we can pull this up and out of the tank. Now this will take a little bit of turning and twisting and wiggling to get this up and out of the tank. This is going to be your fuel pump and your fuel filter system here. So we're going to just kind of wiggle and turn here until we get this pulled up enough to where we can turn it and pull it up out of the tank just like that. Now that exposes a lot more of what we need to get out. So this is going to be your fuel filter right here. So this little electric plug right here can be a little bit of a booger. These two tabs right here are pushed in and locked around a tab that's down inside here. So we have to take a flathead screwdriver. This whole plug is going to come out. Do not remove this blue piece. That's a retainer for the wires. So we're going to go above this tab and go in here, and we're going to push down, kind of pull and push down on those two little tabs at the same time. Now, I just felt it release, so I can unplug that. So you see that little tab right there is what we're working with. You got to push that down and get it around that little nipple that's in there. Now we have that disconnected, we can pull this up and we can get to these two fuel lines right here. You want to be super careful twisting this around. Now, this is a fairly new bike, so I'm not real worried about it, but if you have an older bike and you're doing this, be careful because that plastic can be brittle down there in that tank where it's been sitting in the fuel, and you can snap that plastic off. So once you get to this point, just be gentle with twisting and pulling everything out. These have little tabs around them. They're little locking tabs. There's one on each side, and if you can't do it with your fingers, use a pair of needle nose. We got a pair of needle nose here. We want to push in on both of those tabs at the same time and release that valve. But you want to be gentle with it. Once you feel it go past the nipple, you should be able to pull it off with your hand, just like that. This one back here on this side's the same, but it's black. So just remember the black one goes to the top and the clear one goes to the bottom. Same thing back here, we're just going to pinch these and then give it a little pull until we feel it start to release, and then go ahead and pull it out. Now we've got this loose, we can get that fuel just finished dripping out of that fuel filter. Now if you haven't, this is a good time to change your fuel filter. It's very easy to do. Got this metal U-shaped clip right here. You're going to pinch that and slide that out, and this pulls apart. You got a rubber gasket inside there. With your new filter, you'll get a filter and a new rubber gasket, so make sure you replace both. But while you have this out, great time to go ahead and change that. Now I'm going to pull a few things out of here, and it's going to be hard to get that camera in there, but once I pull it out, I'll be able to explain the pieces and how it snaps in. So I'm just going to turn this way. I'm going to get right here to the front. There's going to be a tab that's kind of arched up into the front. We're going to stick our finger in there and we're going to pull up on that tab, and it's going to push back. Once you do that, it's going to push back out from the metal plates that are inside the tank, and we can pull this up and twist this out of here. This is going to be your float. So you're going to be very, very careful pulling that float valve out. We got a disconnect right here. We're going to go ahead and disconnect this and get it off. You want to lift up on this tab once again. Once you get that lifted up, you can pull this apart. This is that little tab right here that we just pulled on this, and these slide into metal brackets in the bridge of the tank. Now over on the left side of the tank, we've got another one, and the tab is facing the back, and it's sitting on the bridge. So we're going to pull it this way. So get our hand down in here. We pull it. We make sure that those clips come out of the bridge. We got our line that goes over to this side of the tank, so it pulls off both sides of the tank equally. You can generally just kind of pull this up, bend it, and then pull it out, just like that. So now we've got this one out up here. We can pull this over. Now from here, we're gonna pull up. We're gonna start just kind of twisting this out. This is gonna be our fuel pump and our pre-filter that's on the bottom. So anything that's catching on the edge, just be gentle with this and make sure you pull all of these out at the same time. That's our little pre-filter. So just for reference, this is the back of the tank right here and the front of the tank, and this sitting in here just like this, right? So this went over to the other side of the tank across the bridge, and this is that little clip that we pulled back on to release this from the bridge of the tank. So that all comes out in one assembly. Now we have to flip this tank over to get the check valve off of the bottom, right? So we still got a little bit of fuel in here. So what I'm gonna do is get just a bunch of paper towels. I'm gonna turn this tank sideways. I'm gonna sop up that little bit of fuel in there. So when I turn it over to get the check valve off, I'm not dumping fuel all over everything. Down here on the check valve, it's gonna be a 7/8. We're gonna use a wrench on this and slide it right over. Remember that that hose on the other end is connected, so just be gentle with this. Don't do it super fast. We want that hose to kind of turn in there so it's not breaking off. And there's your check valve assembly right there. So like I said before, these crack right here pretty easy, and you can't just replace this hose. You have to buy the whole piece. We just bought one for the soft tail because it broke when we did that tank change, and that was about 55, 60 bucks for this assembly from Harley Davidson. So now that we have everything out of our tank, just get this one out of the way, get our new tank up here, and start the reassembly. So I've taped off our new tank, so just to make sure that we're not going to be scratching anything, because a lot of this stuff does have metal components on it, and we're kind of trying to wiggle it in, and you don't want to scratch. So the first thing we're going to do is get our check valve back in. Got our little rubber washer on there, so make sure that when you take that off, you inspect that rubber washer, especially if you've got an older bike. This is a fairly new one, so I'm not worried about any of this. We're going to snug that down. Take our pump assembly. Remember, this piece here is the part that sets on the bridge and clicks in, so this has to go back in here. So no matter how you twist and turn this thing, it has to lay out just like this when you put it back in. We're going to make sure that we get our everything on that side of the tank. And it will take a little bit of twisting and turning to get it down in there, to get all your hoses to clear. So just kind of twist, turn, until it falls down into place. Now at least we're on the right side of the tank. You can stand this up. We're going to go ahead from here. We're going to get our hose that goes to the other side of the tank across the bridge. We're going to get that in. And then we're going to try and stand this up into place. Make sure that our check valve hose is completely out of the way. We're going to pull this up, take our flashlight. We're going to shine down in there to make sure that our pre-filter is laying flat on the bottom of the tank. It's not twisted up on anything. We're going to set this into place. And I'm going to take these hoses and I'm going to poke them down in there. All of our electronics, everything. So nothing's poking up through the hole, because you have very limited room anyway through this hole to work. So you want to make sure that those things are out of the way. I'm going to push this over into place, down and forward, and lock that into place. You want to double check that all 4 of those are locked into the metal tabs. The left side of that tab is longer than the right side and the rear. So if you don't have that right side tab pushed under that piece of metal, you need to push harder. Make sure it's all lined up, all 4 tabs, and shove it forward until it's locked into place. If you have that into place, you're going to double check that your pre-filter is laying still flat on the bottom of the tank, and it is. You can pull all of our lines back up now. We're going to get our float back in. Those are those 4 tabs I was talking about. Same on the other side. This goes in here, the float goes towards the front of it. So we're going to slide this into place, making sure that that float goes towards the front. We're going to go ahead and plug this back in first. And we're going to put this in, make sure our float is going forward. Make sure that these 4 tabs line up with the 4 tabs on the bridge, and then push it forward. So we're going to set this down into place. pull this over, line up the 4 tabs, use your thumb to push it forward and lock it in. Now, what we have left are our 2 lines, our plug and our ground. So we're going to go ahead and put our fuel lines back on. Remember, the black one goes to the top. Go ahead and plug your fuel lines back in. Going to put our ground wire back on the side over here. Come back up here, plug this side in. Make sure that those tabs are facing that outer edge. I'm going to get it up here. Push it all the way in. Listen for that click. Now, we can slide this back in. Oop. Get that to go to the back. We're going to lay that right back into place, just like that. Now our tank is put back together. So all we have to do is put it back on the bike. Make sure to put our retaining ring back in using our laying tool, and then we can mount everything back up. Get your ring. Get it locked back into place. Gonna get our connectors, plug that back in. Put our hose back on. When you're reinstalling your check valve, make sure to push up on the silver part. Push this into place. Just like that. From here we can go ahead and reinstall our main fuse. Go ahead and get some fuel back in the tank. We're going to go ahead and prime the bike 2 or 3 times. We're going to go ahead and start it. While it was running, we made sure that our fuel sending unit was actually sending a signal up to our gauge. It read up to 1/4 of a tank on there. It's about what I put in the bike. Now, after you've done all that, you can go ahead and start putting your bike back together, get your side covers on, your saddlebags, and you're ready to go. So that's it on Advanblack's color matched Holeshot tank. Like I said in the beginning of this video, if you're not comfortable doing any of those steps that I showed you in this video, please take it to somebody that is qualified to do this. It's definitely something that you can do at home with the right tools and the right know-how. So if you have any questions on this install, you know the deal. Drop in the comments section. I'll try to help you the best that I can. So make sure to check out Advanblack's website. I'm going to get out of here and get myself back to work. I hope to see you in the next video, but until then, as always, be safe, keep your knees in the breeze.